Hi, welcome back to my garden. And this, the third and final installment in things I learned from my dog. I think if we're going to pick up one sort of psychological quality, psychological perhaps isn't the right word, but you'll know what I mean, from our dogs, it is what I want to talk about today. And at first I thought, I decided I was going to do 3, that seemed like a nice, neat number. I was going to talk about the business of love. There's an Iggy Pop song from an album, a sort of imagined soundtrack to a novel atomized by, I'm going to butcher the name, Michel Houellebecq, French writer. And on this soundtrack, Iggy Pop sings one song which is about a man and a dog, a sort of spoken sung type of song. And he uses a lyric, I can't find the CD and I haven't looked up the song, but it's something along the lines of, what is a dog if not a machine for love? It seems like a very nice way of putting it. And I was going to talk about that today. But I think there's a more general, all-encompassing psychological state that we need to learn from our dogs. And it's not actually about loving, because our dogs are loyal, and in our sort of anthropomorphized way of looking at the world, we see them as loving us, but I'm not sure love is the right word. They're very loyal, and they form a close bond to us, but love is a different thing. And I'm not sure that is what a dog is showing. One thing I am certain about is that of the many states we need to develop our ability to put ourselves into and stay in, amongst the most important is that of flow, of being in the moment. Flow, the critical idea of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, godfather of positive psychology. This idea that when your performance of a task, or the task that you are performing, and your skill level is perfectly in sync, and time sort of dilates, and you just are totally at one with the thing you are doing. Well, that's a dog right there, always. And that's what makes it the dog's love that I was questioning. This unconditional thing, because when a dog is looking at you, that is what the dog is doing. It's not looking at you and thinking about its dinner. That might be what originally sort of trained it into this state. Maybe. One can speculate about that. But there's obviously makes a lot of intuitive sense. But the truth is that when the dog is looking at you into your eyes, sort of all lying in peace and harmony with its head in your lap, as little Sid would, that's what it's doing. It's really enraptured in that moment. It flits out of that moment quite quickly. For example, it hears a sound, pricks up its little ears, and it's no longer in your lap. It's now totally engrossed in that sound. Or if someone brings along the food, well, it leaves you in a blink of an eye, and it's eating. And certainly in the case of Sid, heaven help anyone who tried to get in the way of her and her food. If you put her food down and your hand went anywhere near her, she would simply bite it. Snap away. Nothing was coming between her and her food. My other dog's actually quite different. Pachu's been quite sick lately. When she's eating, she really is engrossed. And you can do anything. You can take her collar off, you can de-tick her, you can brush her. brusher. That sort of inspired me to take a little bit of brushing action myself. And that distracted me. That wouldn't have distracted Patchy. She'd have just continued eating. Her totally at one with that task until she stopped and moved on to whatever the next thing it is that she was going to do. And I think this is something that we need to develop. And if we can develop that kind of totally engrossed level of attention to the task that we're doing, whatever it might be something that requires real concentration and deep thought, a mentally taxing challenge. It might be something as simple as washing the dishes. But if we can become totally caught up in the tasks that we're doing, we will simply be much, much happier. In a way that my dogs are. I mean, my dogs seem to be very, very happy. And they become sad when there is something that momentarily distracts them. But I think actually, no, they're not sad. They are maybe agitated or feel some sort of stress. But their basic state of being is happiness, and their level of focus is the same. It seems a little bit, I mentioned my smallest, dearly departed dog, Sidgy. The way her ears would prick up and she'd kind of track things that were going on. If there's something really significant happened. Some dogs seem to be in that distracted, high-stress state all the time. And it's a sign that something is wrong. And dogs that are like that, you can be sure that there is a deep underlying reason, and on some level I would wager an element of mistreatment, or, for want of a better way of putting it, that they are not leading a dog's life, that they have been taken out of their dog world and forced to live an altogether alien existence. Some stray dogs are like that, street dogs that seem perpetually on edge between rage and fear, and never settling for a calm state in between. And perhaps those dogs don't live in an almost perpetual state of flow. Could it be that there is a lesson for us, that flow and our mental well-being are sort of like those mathematical proofs, the if and only if ones, where one is the equivalent of the other in planar geometry. If a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that tells you it's a right-angled triangle. And if it's a right-angled triangle, that tells you that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, c being the hypotenuse, for those who wanted a little bit of extra maths on a Saturday afternoon. And I think actually, maybe I'm pushing this a long way out, but maybe there's some truth to what I'm saying. That if we train ourselves to live in a state of flow, almost perpetually, that this will lead to immense psychological well-being, in much the same way that a person that is totally at ease with themselves manages to stay within the task, whistling a happy tune, whatever it might be that they are doing. And And if one thinks of the mechanism of how that might work, it is that that state of flow happens partly because we have sort of bypassed or quietened that internal and very irritating, disquieting mental chatter. I don't think dogs have internal mental chatter. And that is the lesson that we need to learn. Can we train ourselves to be like that? I think we can, and people talk about it, but I think it's a slow, gradual process, like learning how to meditate. And meditation is intimately connected, perhaps, with the flow state. And I've tried on a few occasions, half-heartedly, if I'm truly honest. But I think it's something that maybe I need to give a bit more of a serious go at developing as a life practice. But I do know on the occasions that I tried to sort of build up a meditation practice. You know, a minute sitting calmly, focusing on your breathing is an eternity. But if you start with that, and simply each time your mind wanders, bring it back, center yourself, refocus on your breathing, if that's the type of meditation that you're doing. I think one can develop that. And if one can develop that, I think it will morph into a state of flow in other activities that we're doing. Or perhaps we might think of it as all our activities become a form of meditation. That's an interesting idea. Maybe that's why a happy, healthy, well-balanced dog seems to have a remarkable Zen-like quality to it. I'm not sure cats do. Cats, I think it might be some sort of other Eastern religion. Not sure which, and perhaps one will investigate that in another time, another place, another garden chat. Not today. But there we are. That's it. I think I've done the dog theme for a while. I hope you've enjoyed things. And if you, as always, if you haven't or you have something interesting to add, if I'm speaking complete nonsense in a cheerful, merry sort of way, let me know in the comments below. And otherwise, until next week, I trust that your lives are filled with joy, life is treating you well, and from a sunny Brazil,